Hello, good morning, everyone. How are you? We're so glad to have you all with us today and joining us to launch our first Trinity Florida Live interview. We are so glad that all of you could join us today. And we pray that you are able to walk away knowing just a little bit more about us here at Trinity Florida, as well as some nuggets that may be helpful for you personally or as an organization. As a fully accredited Christian liberal arts university, we want to challenge you in the same initiatives that we have embraced in envisioning Trinity, which includes worshiping in faithfulness, mentoring in hope, and building bridges in love. In expanding our reach within the South Florida community, we would like to keep you all connected to what Trinity is doing here in South Florida, in the South Florida community through a series of interviews with some of our key leaders. Our hopes are that this time together will allow each of you tuning in and in the South Florida community in general to begin envisioning the future with us. Today we have with us the Dean of Trinity Florida, Dr. Jean Green, as well as our TIU alumni and Commissioner of District D in North Lauderdale, Commissioner Samson Borgelin. Welcome to you both. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a background of our guest interviewees today. Dr. Green, which some of you may already know, has a plethora of titles, which include author, professor, ordained minister, husband, father, and one of my favorites, brother in Christ. So before joining us here at Trinity Florida, Dr. Green taught at Wheaton College for 23 years. He served as a professor and academic dean in the Dominican Republic and Costa Rica for 13 years. And he is now, as we mentioned, currently our dean for the Trinity Florida locations as of last year in April. So Dr. Green, welcome. Please say hello to the audience.
Lovely to be here and great to be with you all, and great to be with you, Commissioner, today. I'm so glad that you're joining us for this special event.
It's my pleasure to be here too. Thank you very much. A double honor to be here.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce a little bit about Commissioner Samson now. Commissioner Samson is currently presiding and has been presiding as the Commissioner of District D in North Lauderdale, the city that we're currently located in for our Broward County site. Commissioner was born and raised in Haiti by his Canadian missionary foster parents, and he has a heart for children, youth, and families at risk. Before taking on this role, he served as an assistant field director for Compassion International, which many of you may be familiar with, where he helped establish and expand the first local office in Pétionville, Haiti. Commissioner Samson has educational background in business management, theology, as well as psychology, and he gladly embraces his alumni status as a Trinity Florida graduate from our Masters of Arts in Mental Health Counseling program. Commissioner Samson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great pleasure. It's an honor to be here. I don't know how to explain that, but TIU gets me excited for being here, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Praise God. That's great.
Absolutely. So today for our interview, our theme is envisioning Trinity Florida. So we're going to dive right in and jump in with our first question, which will go to Dr. Green, Dean Green. As the Dean of Trinity Florida, what do you envision for Trinity Florida as it relates to the South Florida community and beyond within the next 5 years?
Well, thank you for the question, Natasha. And these are really wonderful times at Trinity Florida. I know that we've all struggled with the pandemic that we have, and a lot of people, their lives have been transformed in some very significant ways that are painful. But in the midst of it all, we've seen God's grace. And so there's something that's happened in the middle of the pandemic, and that is that we've widened our field in many ways. We've had to go online for education, remote education, but we're going to keep that as part of what we do. For the next 5 years and beyond, we will continue to maintain our campus in Miami and Kendall, but also we have a new campus here in North Lauderdale. That's why it's such an honor to have Commissioner Samson here from North Lauderdale. So we are serving Miami-Dade and we're serving Broward. And I love the fact that we have a new modality that we'll keep using where students can come in the classroom, high flex education, but also stay remote. We hope to be able to widen our catchment area. So this is a key thing, new place. We have new educational modality. We're going to keep that going forward, but also we have new professors, and I'm very delighted that here in the room with us is Nina Gonzalez, who will be teaching with us, Giuliani Gonzalez as well, and theology, Dr. Jules Martinez and theology, Dr. Tracy Timberlake in education. So we have a number of new professors that have come on board. So this is really an exciting time where we're building upon the foundations that have been here since 1988. Trinity International University, that has 5 entities, the law school, undergraduate, graduate, divinity school, and Trinity Florida. We're part of a 2,500 student whole body. Trinity Florida has been here since 1988 when we took over Miami Christian College. We have alumni that are graduates of Miami Christian College. Our new assistant dean, Dr. Susie Cohen, is in education. She's another new professor and is from Guyana. Her family is from Guyana, and she is working in the area of education and helping us to expand that program. So what does the future look like? It looks like, number one, building upon the good foundations that have been here in South Florida, in Miami-Dade and Broward, but also looking forward to new programs as well as a new place and new professors and new modalities, new programs. We are in deep conversations with Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, one of the top seminaries in the United States, if not the world, to bring the Master of Divinity program here. We also are talking about new programs on the undergraduate side. So this is what is in development right now. We're also looking out. You know, I think it's significant that your family roots are in Haiti, and we want to make sure that we look not only to the South Florida region as our catchment area, but down to the Caribbean also. We have relations in Haiti. Can we set up something in Haiti? Can we do so in Jamaica? I spent years in Dominican Republic. Can we have a satellite campus or a teaching site in the Dominican Republic? Which would mean also that one of the chief things that we want to do es expander el programa español. Y es muy importante porque sabemos que el español es como Creole, es el idioma de Los Ángeles, okay? It's the language of the angels. So we want to make sure that we have programs in Spanish. And this is part of what we're working on right now. And so, Natasha, I think that the future looks really, really great and exciting for Trinity Florida.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. And I know our audience is glad to hear, especially with our South Florida population, full of culture, full of background, full of different nationalities. I know this will be something that our audience is definitely excited to hear about in expanding in the Caribbean and in our material and our course is being in different languages. So thank you for sharing that with us, Dr. Green. Okay, so we'll go on to our next question. Our next question is dedicated to you, Commissioner Samson. So as a Trinity Florida alumni, how did your education with us here prepare you for the work that you are doing now in the community?
Great question. Thank you for, first of all, thank you for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure, and I feel honored again to be part of not just the community here, but being part of the Trinity, because I'll say, I hate to say after God, because God is the one who always do things there. I tell people as a pastor, don't say after God. God uses you. God uses institutions. In my case, God, I believe that God has planned, prepared TIU and Trinity International University for me, because all my life I've been going to school. I go to different school and I'm studying a lot. I can name universities, colleges, but Trinity is where it stops for me. Like it's like if IU, but you got to cross the T and put the dots there. And it stops right there for me. This is where I really discovered who I am, what I'm born to be. Through my childhood, I was exposed to management at an orphanage, but as I'm growing up, I was always trying to figure out what do I want to become, and where I want to be serving God. So to the church, I've been doing that. To the community, I've been doing that, working for helping those who are underserved. But when I got to Trinity in 2013, it was new for me, and I'm glad because I was environed by so many good mentors to really put you there to help me discover my purpose. My purpose is to serve people, and I had people. We had good teachers, great teachers, telling us in small classes, have the heart, because otherwise, want to be a counselor and helping people, you have to do it just like you'd say you're doing it for Christ. And there's one teacher also saying on a Saturday morning, say, I think the first was John 20, chapter 21. And I consider it as a 21st century verse for me, where he said, Jesus told Peter, if you love me, if you really love me, I want you to feed my sheep. And then the teacher, the professor was explaining to us that the sheep is, first of all, the community is that world that we're serving. And they explained to me what community meant. Even though I served for 15 years, I worked at the place 15 years in a community setting there, but I didn't really understand because I was delivering services. But when I'm learning at class at Trinity, is the world we're going after graduation, the world is what your community is. And you want to serve, if you want to love God, you want to love Jesus, you want to serve him through the community, the people, and the weaker ones. And then I feel that they were preparing me for where I'm right now, which I had no idea I would become one of the leaders in the community in North Lauderdale, also being a commissioner, because at that time, politics was not one of my word. I didn't even know what commissioner meant. I didn't know that. But through the school, the learning, and I was in the right place at the right time with the right teachers, with the right teaching, with the right mindset. And so I was exposed to something totally new with the word integration, with faith in learning. So how can you become a community leader anywhere you're at, whatever you decide to do, but to represent Jesus Christ, represent and live like that is going to be tough, but you have to be with non-judgmental, work the people and focus exactly, because it's like one of the teachers said, it's like the world is like a hospital. We have a lot of patients, a lot of clients, but treat them like that because they need help. They've been hurting. And that's where also I learned about the Christian worldview, even though I was a pastor, that's true. The difference is the worldview and Christian worldview, and to see that we're living in a falling world, okay? Then that's the reason why we have to be the instrument, the tool that Jesus is using. So wherever we serve God. So at that point, when I became a commissioner, I was at that point I was serving at one of the I was doing an internship at one of the mental institutions there in Broward County. But I felt the need that I got to be continue. And then I went to an election there. Here I am, become a commissioner. Then I find my sheep. The sheep is the people in North Lauderdale, the community serve. Those who are underserved, who needed some help.
Yes.
But you need to do it with compassion, with care, just like a children. These are all the C's I'm looking at. Serving Christ, with a calling, serving Christ, which is, we are the extension of the church, even though I'm the government, but we're serving children, which is the population, with care, compassion. We got to do that. And those are the things that I use. I put my hands into TIU, come up with all these things. That's what's happening right now.
Praise
to
God.
be very energetic, to live for Christ, but through serve God through the population. And Trinity is the one that really formed me finally, give me everything I wanted, and I could go straight with no shame, with all hope. I hate to use the word proud of pride, but I'm proud to say that I'm a Christian. Let people always know I'm a Haitian American here. I always show that for our youth, our kids, to know the background, like you mentioned that. But also, I'm proud to say that I am from Trinity International University. So I don't care. I mean, those are the things I'm dying for, because they really make me who I am today and what I'm doing to do it with energy and with strength. So I invite anyone who is interested, just go to Trinity. It's going to transform you totally and help you transform your community. Yes.
Oh, thank you for that. Could I just say something?
Absolutely,
When
absolutely.
we made the application to move to our new site in Broward County, you know, as I said, we're keeping our site down in Kendall in Miami as a center. But when we decided to move to North Lauderdale, we met with the city commissioners and Commissioner Samson.
Yes.
And when the time came for comment about or questions,
Yes.
From the city commissioners, Commissioner Samson spoke up immediately and talked about the transformation in his own life and what it meant for his vocation to have received the education for Trinity. And after that, there were no more questions. and the mayor called for the vote. Everyone said yes, and it was wonderful. So we're very, very grateful for your service and your enthusiasm about Trinity and what a good Christian education can do for a person, where you do integrate between the gospel and your calling, your vocation. And, you know, there is a dialogue that's set up between mental health counseling and the gospel, and then being able to use that in the schools, and then also in government. I think that's tremendous. So I'm sorry, I jumped off of the question here.
But if I may add,
I'm monitoring. I'll let you guys know. Go ahead.
I knew someone was there. It was to do a partnership with the city. But when I heard, because my mind was so, I had a lot in my mind on my place at that time. But when I heard Trinity International University was there, I felt like a child who lost their parents for so many years. And I would discover, what? Trinity International? And then it's an opportunity for me to say, hey, let's go for it. Anything I could do. And I felt, I don't know how to explain that, but this is the connection I find, because it's been since 2017 that I've been, when I graduated there. And ever since, even my first job of teaching as a professor is because of Trinity International. I'm teaching at another college there in Broward County, but that's what allows me to find my first job there. So, and I said, wow, that's my parents. Right. They formed me to put me there.
Yeah.
So that's what I felt about that.
Sounds like John Wesley, you know, my parish is the world.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what Trinity means to me, to my education, to what I'm doing right now. And I'm proud to say that I got that formation, because without that, I don't see how with an ethics of service that I learned, those were ethics I learned. Ethics I learned at 3 times. Once when I was a child, through my adoptive parents there, one Ann Stewart. They told me what ethic is. I was maybe 17 years old to take over an organization there, foster care. Didn't I really understand well, I didn't totally understand it. But second, the next time I heard it was at another college, but I finally understand what ethics becomes is when I learned with the teachers constantly ethics, okay, ethics, being professional. Then I'm trying to understand that. Now I'm applying that. I'm trying as much as I can to apply in the government and to help. And that's the leading for me, help me to lead a Christian life there.
Amen.
So yeah.
Amen.
And that, I mean, the 3 points you shared, serving Christ with care, with compassion. You know, those are definitely things that the world needs right now.
Yes.
Things that our community needs right now.
That's definitely true.
And you find that here at Trinity. like you said, Commissioner Samson,
Yes.
that's how we are forming our students. And, you know, it's one thing one of my dance instructors used to always say. She would say, "I'm so godly proud of you." So I think that's the word that you were looking for, Commissioner Samson. Go ahead.
And you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't say that. Not only my teachers, but the teachers have an impact on everyone in the class. As far as I know, as much as I can remember, I can tell you names there. They all right now become being promoted, I would say, in what they're doing there. And I could see them there. We're a little bit shy, covered, but now they're expanded. They become, I can name them, but they've become the leaders that they were prepared because only through the education degree.
And that's it. It's God who gives us our vocation,
Yes.
our calling. But what education does is help prepare us
Yes.
to sharpen our knife and axe,
That's
to be able to have the tools to be
Right.
able
Right.
to effectively serve Christ,
Yes.
whether it's in the family
Yes.
or in the church or in the wider community. Our calling is to be part of Christ's mission in the world.
Yes.
And that is a redemptive mission. And education, in the end of the day, is redemptive, not only for the individual, but for the communities that we serve. And I think you're a wonderful testimony to that.
Yes.
Thanks be to God.
The difference I saw is other secular school that I went to,
Yeah.
they'll teach you you're going to become a professional helper or professional ethical helper. But with Trinity, this is the difference for me. You learn to become a professional Christian ethical helper. It makes the whole difference to better your own community.
Right.
And those are the tools that you have to
Right.
really think about.
Right.
What's the purpose of what I'm doing?
Right.
What is the purpose? It's not for the money. You need that, but you are there. And one of the teachers told us, professor told us, you will be the only model of Christ that people in the community will see. But this works. If we're not there for the right purpose, we don't even need to be there in the class.
Right.
And that really stick with us.
Yeah.
With
Right.
me at least.
And that leads us right into our next question.
Yes. Okay.
Our next question is in regards to Dr. Nick Perrin. He's our president over Trinity International University. And last year he had a town hall address in regards to Trinity's future. And he shared 3 strategic initiatives. Those initiatives include worshiping in faithfulness, mentoring in hope, and building bridges in love, all of what we've already been touching on. So this question is for both of you, and Dr. Green, you can start off. With the wealth of experience that both of you have in your backgrounds and in your positions, as well as what you have seen taking place throughout the country and throughout the world, what would you say is the relation between Christian liberal arts education and actually transforming our communities? And I know we touched on it a little bit, but can you share, Dr. Green, a little bit more
Sure.
from your own experience?
Very, very happy to. And I'm glad that you mentioned these 3 initiatives that run around our cardinal virtues: faith, hope, and love. And it's worship and faithfulness. Now, to start off there, worshiping, yes, we come together, we sing, we pray together. We do so individually and corporately. But I love the book by the now president of Fuller Seminary, a friend of mine, Dr. Mark Laverton, who talks about worship as a dangerous act of worship. Because worship, as the author of Hebrews tells us, not only has to do with lifting our hands and our voices to the Lord, but it has to do with that service in society. That working and serving people in society is part of our act of worship, and then mentoring and love. Now, this is what happens in the classroom as we want to make sure that people are well formed, not only intellectually, but spiritually as well, holistically. And so there's that process of mentoring where the students at Trinity are not just a number or way back there in the auditorium, but each student is known by name. And frankly, if you don't want to be known, don't come to Trinity, okay? Don't come to Trinity. If you want to be known, if you want somebody to care for your soul and care about your future, this is a place to be, because the professors, I know these folk, and they love and they care for the students and they mentor them. And you can have conversations after class, you can bring up issues in your life, and I'm sure you saw that as well. And then the last piece of it is faith, hope, and love, building bridges in love. I don't know if you noticed, but our society is really broken right now. And of anything that we need are people who know Christ, serve Christ, and know how to build bridges across to others and seek reconciliation in our world. This is what's needed across the board. It's needed economically, socially, politically, ethnically. We have to be people who model that reconciliation. And this is what happens within the classroom. At Trinity, we have people from, some come from rich families, and a lot of them come from very, very poor families. We have a whole range of ethnicities represented in the student body and in the faculty. We are a majority minority institution. In fact, a guy like me, an older white guy, I'm the minority at Trinity, and it's joyous to listen to all the stories from folk like Dr. Jules Martinez, who's a Latin American theologian, and listening to that. But this thing of Christian liberal arts, and frankly, we're a little bit different than Miami-Dade. We're a little bit different than the University of Miami, just because of this very thing of integration. What does the gospel have to do with psychology? And what kind of insights does mental health counseling or leadership, those disciplines, give us into the gospel of Christ? So there's wonderful dialogue that's set up between the gospel and the disciplines. But one of the most important things that happens at Trinity and in all of our Christian institutions of higher education is that we want to make sure that students can think critically, evaluate arguments, being able to present positions orally and in written form, so that they can be influencers for the kingdom in society. So that education, I'm a product of the same thing. I went to a different institution, and the legacy that was left in my life, I'm an older guy, and I'm still feeding off of the courses that it was things like literature and things like poetry. I mean, what in the world? But being able to learn broadly and then Christianly, I think is one of the greatest things. And that's the way we can be effective in society. And again, Commissioner, you're a testimony to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Commissioner Samson, if you wanted to add anything else, because I know you already shared majority of this, your answer to this question, but if there's anything else that you would like to add in regards to the 3 strategic initiatives of worshiping and faithfulness, mentoring and hope, and building bridges in love.
Thank you. Dr. Green has answered everything there. What I want to add is just the school aspect there. Allow me to go back into the class. I'm seeing myself in a class where, if I'm allowed to mention someone, who would make a few of them, I would say, but Dr. Scott, I remember one Saturday.
Dr. Elizabeth Scott.
Yes, it's very, I don't know, she's in stature to her, the way she transfer knowledge to people. One of them I'm going to mention.
She's effective.
Yes.
Yeah.
What got me is, you don't have teachers, professors walking the class. Sometimes they'll sit down, they stop. First of all, start with the prayer, and not just praying for the class, but praying for the needs of the chapter as student that we have, because it's hard to be as an adult to come to school, but then to help you to see the vision why you're there and what you're exposed to. And then to see the teacher professor sitting down on near you, close where you're about. And it will make you think, to reflect. And sometimes they cry with you, whatever situation is going on, but they're crying also not for people. They were telling you stories about people that in the field they're working with, to make you understand why is that what it is. So sometimes at first we would be kind of I don't know if that's what I want to do, being a counselor or mental health, but then realize, okay, well, then they come back and tell you, hey, you can do it. And people are relying on you. They're counting on you. So this is one way you're going to serve Christ. To you worship while in the class, while in the field, wherever you're going to be, while you're having one-on-one with the client. And then show you exactly how to do it, but you're not alone, which is what you don't get at another university or in a college.
Yeah.
Because guess what? That's what makes the difference. You can do it, and God is preparing you for this. So you're worshiping God there, wherever, and they told us, church is, we go to church as believers to be rekindled, but to go out to learn and how to go in the field, work for God and do that and represent Him there. So I think this is, I'm sure there are other institutions like Trinity, but if I were to make a promotion there, any parents, any adult right now, you don't know what to do with your life, especially at this time, the pandemic at this time we're living now. And at some point it was virtual learning, online was not so much. People didn't want, you have to be in person. But I think this is the time that God has prepared the church right now. And Trinity is an extension of that.
Right.
To complete the Great Commission, I would say. And what a better place to if you, as a person, want to develop a greater relationship with Christ and to be accountable for what you want God puts you to do. And I think this is a place to go back and learn, relearn, and apply, and then send you out, commission you out in the world to do what He wants to do. Because a lot of people think, okay, if I'm not a pastor, no, you can't. Wherever you're at, Trinity is not just a Christian school. It's the institution that God put, and that's what I think. It's the light in the community. When I used to go to David Kemp, I felt it was going through the traffic. Some people would come all over from Miami, from places like that, but we feel that we're a body. To this day, I feel like I can name. I see those people how are they excelling at what they're doing, wherever it is. Some become deans, some become, you name it, directors and all that. Others, I never thought I would become a leader like that in the community, right? But I owe it all to God, and then to the Trinity who formed you, give you everything you need. So I'm inviting other people to do that.
And the beautiful thing about Trinity, as you know, is that you can step in just about at any time.
Yes.
The way that our classes are scheduled, you're taking one course at a time, which means that somebody can, begin the semester in January, but they can also apply now. Natasha is our director of admissions, and you can talk to her and she'll get you through the admission process, even if you're going to start classes in March. So we have throughout the year these times of intake where people can become part of the community, whether it's on the graduate level or the undergraduate level in theological studies or biblical studies or Christian ministry or leadership on the master's or undergraduate level, education, elementary education. And, during this time of pandemic, when people are backing up and saying, I'm afraid, well, we're making sure that people can stay safe. They can study and be part of a live class from home, or with appropriate social distancing and masking and hand washing, and I'm taking a look at the Purell over there on the wall, we can come together and stay safe. So we have classes that will meet together, and then with students that will come in from other areas. And so we want to make sure that during this time of pandemic and beyond, that education is accessible. Yes. We want to be there. And that's why we're in Miami, and that's why we're up here in Broward as well, because we want to be close. We are part of the community. And the joy is that we're part of the Broward community, located here accessibly in North Lauderdale on Rock Island Road, not far. I just came up on the turnpike and got off at Commercial, and here in just a few minutes. And it really is quite amazing. But I agree with you. It's what happens through the education and the impact on your life and the community.
Yeah.
So,
If I may, while you're talking about right now, it's something came up to my mind when I was there a few years ago. I think it was maybe 2013 or 14. I'm not so sure exactly. Got to do my research. There was an ad. I think Oprah Winfrey. I'm bringing her there because she came up with rethinking something. I can't remember what it is, who you are, or something like that. But from that ad, there's a rethinking Burger King. Okay, I'm bringing that. And then one of the teachers at that time, because that was the word doing for the time, as to rethinking, or after in her case was thinking God, I may be wrong, but the professor was taking it, rethinking your education, rethinking for yourself, your goal. So that's what at that time I started thinking, but not just thinking, but rethinking a lot of things. That how do you see the view of the world? And I will conclude to say that for me, someone wants to be rediscover who you are, rediscover the purpose you are.
Yeah.
Rediscover education. Okay, rethink education also.
Yeah.
Those are the things I learned too. So wow, I never saw it like that. Somebody sees something and they see where you can go. And there's no pressure.
Right.
There's no pressure while you're in school. You have more encouragement, more people pushing you to get that. Just like a mother a bird will kick the kids to out of the nest to go and excel in the world, but you're not by yourself. So that's what Trinity means for me and to other people I see there.
Right.
The rethinking, rediscover yourself.
And you know, it's that rethinking. I've always been a little bit amazed that there are a lot of Christians that don't recognize that God gifted us with a mind and the life of the mind. And we're to love the Lord our God with all our soul, heart, strength, our hands, our feet, everything, and our mind as well.
Yes.
And what a gift God has given us as people made in his image. Yeah. And so there's now I come from a Pentecostal background. That's my roots. And there was an anti-intellectualism within Pentecostalism. Unfortunately, my pastor was the one that said, finish up your education, Gene, and push me back to school. And I really appreciated that because it was transformative as we think, we have new ways of thinking, new ways of viewing the world. Yes. We expand and deepen our understanding. So very, very important. Natasha, we're making up our own questions here.
I was just about to jump in, but I do appreciate that. Two things I'm going to point out from both of you mentioned. Commissioner Samson, you discussed how, we're not just a university, and I just want to highlight the fact that we are a liberal arts university, which means that, when people hear Trinity, they think seminary only, Bible school only, training up for work in the church only, but liberal arts, as a liberal arts college, we offer extensive number of majors. At our locations here in South Florida, we have about 6 undergraduate programs and 3 graduate programs that we offer that go beyond the range of biblical studies and Christian ministries. So we want to encourage you all, who are listening to, as we're envisioning Trinity Florida, envision what is it that you think the community needs? And remember, Christian liberal arts education, again, as Commissioner Samson pointed out, as Dr. Green pointed out, is in transforming our communities with the gifts and talents that God has given us. So what do you envision for Trinity Florida as far as what we can offer in the future and as far as what our community needs here in South Florida and beyond? And Dr. Green, you mentioned reconciliation. And of course, we're aware this is the month of February and it is Black History Month. So as we celebrate and acknowledge this, can you briefly, Dr. Green, just share any hopes or aspirations you have in further expanding Trinity Florida within the Black and minority communities?
Yeah, thank you for that, Natasha. And one of the beautiful things about Trinity Florida is that we have a common table. It's not my table. It is our table. And I don't give welcome because everyone is welcome at this table. And we really go by Romans 15:7, where Paul said to the Roman church, made up of this church of mixed ethnicities, welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you. So, and I've thought so deeply about those words in these last years, as Christ has welcomed you. And this is the way we're to act with one another. With all of our differences, with our different perspectives that come from our different ethnic backgrounds, it is a common table, and we listen to and learn from one another. Now, we've got courses that specifically focus in on ethnic issues, on racial problems. We have courses that will address these. But it's like, there was an article by David Brooks not long ago, editorial in the New York Times, where he talked about the way that we learn to live together as community. It's when we gather together, we spend time with one another, that we listen to one another. And this is the joyous thing, I think, about Trinity. It's a place where there's listening and mutuality with all of our differences. I really believe, Pastor Commissioner, that the church needs to be that place where the world could see a model of love and peace and reconciliation. It is a miracle that the early church was able to gather together Greeks, Macedonians, the Latins, the Romans, barbarians, like the folk that were out on the frontier, the limes of the empire. It gathered up all those people and came to all of us here. It's very, very inclusive. But I believe that as we take a look at the church throughout the world, the majority of the church is in the majority world, in Africa, Asia, Latin America, Oceania. And there's such vitality within our varied communities here in the United States. We need to be that place where there is talk about difference, learning to live with one another, learning what it means to be a community reconciled, and not about tolerance. I don't think it's about tolerance. It's about celebration of what each community brings to the table as each community reads the gospel. I've learned so much from my Latin American brothers and sisters, so much from them, as they've taught me about how the gospel addresses issues of social justice, for example. And this is part of the Lausanne Covenant, a document that has guided the evangelical communities since 1974. The fifth paragraph of the Lausanne Covenant has to do with Christian social responsibility. And it's a statement that stands against every form of discrimination within society. So we want to live that out,
Yeah.
and we want to provide a model in the classrooms, what it means to be the Church of Christ. So we want then that to echo out into our churches and the community. So Black History Month,
Yes.
amen. And we put some posts up on Instagram and Facebook about that. But this is really part of who we are as a community that celebrates all the diversity and what the history is. We have to do truth telling. We have to go back and revisit what happened through the slave trade, what happened through the time of Jim Crow, and what does that mean for us today? What are the current manifestations of that? So we have to take a hard look at what happened to the indigenous communities here in the United States. We think about immigrant communities that have come here and didn't find welcome, didn't find the type of place that they needed. We want Trinity to be a place of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you. And that's part of our DNA, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Live DNA.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner Samson, Dr. Green, for this time, just helping us to know helping our audience to know and envision more about Trinity, Florida. We did have Jessica Waddell, you can probably see her on the screen, monitoring the chat for any questions, but we haven't seen any questions come in. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. We definitely appreciate all of you who have tuned in and joined us this morning to hear a little bit more about Trinity. We'll continue to do these once a month on the third Monday at the same time, 11 a.m. So feel free to jump in, mark it on your calendars. Our next interview will actually take place on Monday, March 15th. We'll be interviewing our Master of Arts Theological Studies Program Director, Dr. Jules Martinez Oliveri. You don't want to miss it. This is definitely, we're going to have Dr. Jules Martinez with us and just sharing his aspect and some other things that we have lined up for the rest of this year. But that is all for today. We want to share just a little bit for more information about Trinity, Florida. You can always take a look at our website, florida.tiu.edu. Again, I'll say that, and Jessica will type it in the chat. That's florida.tiu.edu. And you can also follow us on social media through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at TIU Florida. Again, thank you all. And that's all for today. Have a blessed remainder of your day. Thank you, Commissioner Samson. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very
for being
much. God
here.
bless you too.